This is Critical Nonsense, our high-lowbrow show about culture, science, and tech. This week, Joey asks us about AI art. Finally.
Woo!
Bop deep dop bop. Joey's on a podcast.
Do that first.
Yeah. I couldn't remember all the beats when it got into the.
And then.
This is what a Joey sounds like, and that was what an executive producer in Hamsterstanistan mayor Jess Vander sounds like.
Hi, this is Jess.
Hamsterstanistan is. I'm
that's
kind of
new.
into it.
I like it. It's new to me, but I do like it.
That's what you called your clubhouse when you were in middle school? Hamsterstanistan?
Did you almost say hamster? Hamsterstanistan.
Hamsterstanistan. You also live there as well. In Jess Vander's assembly space now exists Hamsterstanistan and Hamsterstanistan. Great. We're off to a good start. We missed each other dearly, right?
Very much so.
This is what you needed in your life.
What did we do without you? It was just a lot of like normal conversation.
We've been apart from each other for like a month. Like,
that's true.
We need to give the people what they want, which is the Hamsterstanistan.
They want the nonsense. Bring it back.
If anyone listening is capable of making a flag for Hamsterstanistan and is like willing to also do that, please send it to us at criticalnonsense@sylvain.co. I would love to see it. Or maybe appropriately, Jess, because the house is clean, we can go use an AI art generator to create a flag for Hamsterstanistan.
Oh, I'm doing it right now.
Jessica.
How would you spell that? Hamster.
Hamster. Stanistan.
Right. That's what I wrote. Okay, good. Oh, should it be in the theme of cyberpunk? Sorry,
a cyberpunk flag? Well, that would just be like a digital billboard.
Yeah, I can't explain that.
Jessica Vander Benander Pander. AI. What is it good for?
What does it mean?
Apparently art.
Apparently art. In fact, Ben was asking me, my brother who's been on the show, how come you haven't done an AI art episode yet? I was like, I don't know. It's good because Joey's been gone.
Because Joey's on vacation.
But now we're talking. Now we're cooking.
So, AI art has... it's had a year. Like, this has been a conversation for a while, but the volume of AI art generators that are using different platforms that people are getting to play with. I think probably the most like famous ones maybe are the most famous one is probably DALL 2. DALL-E2, I think. But there are a number of them. You may know some of the other named ones. I think one has Raven in it somehow. Saltverse, I believe, is one. There are a bunch. Anyways, that's not important. The generators existence aren't important. I think what's interesting is sort of the existential discussion, let's call it, that is emerging on both sides about whether AI art is truly art, what qualifies, what is or isn't. Is the person who is working with the AI to generate the art also an artist or not? Should it be able to be included in art competitions and things of that nature? And I think a lot of the reason we're having this discussion is because this year, really, the quality of output that is coming out of this most recent round of AI art generators is a pretty significant improvement in the quality and aesthetic qualia of the output. It's to the point now where people are like, this isn't super messed up. These are beautiful things. And so my question for you, Jess, is AI art, and should we be scared of it?
Yes. No. Yes, because I would argue AI art is not something entirely revelatory, but one in a line of what has been recently an emergence of collaborative creation, and as a shift away from this romantic ideal of the lone toiler or artisan. And should we be scared of it? No, because just in the same way that there are many other things that can't be replaced, creativity comes in so many forms that I just feel like there's always something that you cannot quite get from someone's hands, mind, people actually doing things in person. I just wrote a progress report newsletter piece about this idea of that little something extra that comes from a maker's touch. And so I feel pretty good about my very definitive responses to your questions.
So a few of the other ones real quick are Midjourney is another one that has gotten a lot of conversation. I think I can see both sides of the discussion, and what was our theory of polarization that we had at one point, that the existence of a polarized opinion inherently proves the existence of its polar opposite opinion in sentiment somewhere, or something to that effect. If someone says they hate vanilla, then that automatically proves that there are equivalent lovers of vanilla on the other side of the spectrum. Do you remember
Newton's third law of fringe theory, I think, was loosely
yes.
what we were talking about.
Yeah, fringe theory.
For every fringe, there is an equal and opposite fringe.
Yes, you are closer than I was. We should go back and find that so we can trademark it and then get our Nobel Prize in internet nonsense. They give those out, right?
Right.
But I wonder, I'm just seeing out in the world both ends of this spectrum. So, I can see people being a quote from someone named @TalYarkoni on Twitter. It's really hard to express or grasp how quickly generated art went from a promising novelty to this. And it is just a series of 4 photos in one tweet, but then a long thread of a bunch of other beautiful, interesting, bizarre art. And then on the flip side of it, you have someone, this is an interesting one. It's a Russian nesting doll of messages, but there's someone called @Sock Done Left, posting a picture of someone saying TLDR, someone entered an art competition with an AI generated piece and won first prize. Yeah, that's pretty fucking shitty. And this person is saying, like, I think people hate on AI art because it inspires a feeling of dread, a fear that your own work is replaceable, meaningless. But I love the dream of a world where anyone can make their imaginations real and really beautiful with a command and a little refining. And you have these two sides, right? Not all artists even are against it, but there are some artists that are like, I've spent my whole life working to be able to produce art that is beautiful and training and honing my craft. And now, like the cliche of like someone in their mom's basement like punches a command line into a computer and wins first prize in an art competition is like, you can understand exactly how that person put it, why there would be like a huge sense of dread. But the flip side, I was thinking the other day of like, we've been making our silly like D&D story. Like, what if you could punch into an AI thing, the ability to like make it into a cartoon, right? Or like reading some graphic novels with my daughter. I was like, she might have an easier time processing some of this as like a series, or maybe it'd just be fun as a series, and being able to do those things easily is like wonderful for someone who is 0% artistically inclined.
Yeah, well, and even that speaks to an element that is maybe different than how I interpreted the question around like art. Certainly there's room to be, I don't know, potentially scared, as with any evolution of a technology or something that can make obsolete a certain skill set. Like in a world where an AI generator can very quickly just like produce a thing that you need. Yeah, maybe that could be scary to someone who otherwise is on like Fiverr or, like is just doing like churning out those like little something that you just need something for. But when I'm thinking of art, I guess I'm holding it to the standard of both the elements of creativity and craft, like the idea and like how good it is from a creative standpoint, and then also like the making of the thing. And that's the thing that I like to the creativity point. AI art does not make at all obsolete the need for that creativity. So you still need the idea to input it into this input-output machine. And it's just that you have the help of something to make it, to bring it to life, which is speaking more to the craft side. But even that, to get it just so, that's why you can have so many different crafts makers of all different types of things that need making out there, because they all just have such a unique quality. Maybe that just makes me a romantic about the world of art and craft, but I just believe that there's room for all of these different things out there. Also, like, this is just one medium. Like, I don't know. It feels like it's an important one, sure, in our digital universe, but like, I don't know. There's just so much more that this doesn't cut. Like, it's not the whole thing.
I had heard a story recently about a chess pro that quit chess because of AI, and I'm trying to look. It was a master of the Chinese strategy game Go has decided to retire due to the rise of artificial intelligence that cannot be defeated. Lee DALL is the only human to ever beat the AlphaGo software developer, or AlphaGo software developed by Google's sister company DeepMind. That you've seen this in the past, right? Like even when Gary Kasparov was playing Deep Blue and beating it, and then Deep Blue finally beat Garry Kasparov. His response was, this is okay, but I don't have access to all of the things that Deep Blue has, so it's sort of, it's cheating. His response versus retiring was to create the Centaur Chess League, where any number of players or AI can be on either side of the board, and you can determine how you'll build your team to make the decisions, to combine it. And that has been, had a degree of success. But like, to your point about craft, in thinking about that in the same way, right? You brought up Fiverr, or sort of these like smaller places where you can buy art. Like, oftentimes those are places where people who are developing their craft are able to still
like
make a living, so that they can continue to hone the craft, right?
Yeah,
honing the craft of being a painter or a graphic designer or an illustrator or whatever takes years and years and years to do, because you have inputs. But in these instances where, Midjourney or DALL or whatever, like, they have access to the entirety of, Google image searches, right? Like, in their learning database. And so the creativity can't necessarily be replicated right now. It's still so important for what prompts go in, and iteration and things. Like, even in that quote about the person who won the Colorado State Fair Fine Arts Competition, digital arts category, spent weeks honing the prompt going into Midjourney and iterating on selections and whatever. So they still had a vision of what they wanted to create. They were using some kind of combination of words and ideas and whatever to fit into the creation of that art. But the craft wasn't there, right? In some ways, this ability you're taking the ability to like short circuit or like, shortcut around craft, and you can rely only on, right? And that's kind of always been the promise of AI in some ways, right? Like, in any categories that it's going into, it can't, at least in current formats, make interpretations about the qualia of a thing, but it can generate a lot and do it in a way that can get there fast. And so, like, in some ways I can see the value of that, right? Of like me dropping in like the text of a story I wrote and seeing like what it generates as like an image or a book cover or whatever,
Right. And that doesn't have to be the end of it. Like, as the artist, I would say you could then see that and be like, ooh, that inspires something else, actually, or something on top of, like, that's why I mentioned like collaboration at the beginning, because I see this generator as another input to the artist being able to bring a vision into the world, whether or not it gets that creative vision to the line, the finish line or not. It's another tool in the artist's toolkit, and the world of art is one that thrives on like experimenting with a new thing and what we might be able to make with it. So like it very much to me feels like the artistic spirit. I also think like the example that you gave about like the chess or the Go master, and how like a computer made the game not fun anymore. I think that's a perfect example of why like perfection and consistency are not the end goal for things related to beauty or fun, because it's just, I don't know, it's like that those categories are subjective inherently, and so there has to be room for like that little extra something that you just, I don't know, maybe I'm like very chill about it, but I'm so not worried. It feels like only a good thing. Mostly
it feels like a change certainly, right? Like, no matter what it is, a change. Does that mean that like art is going to be eliminated because computers can create it, or that like the vocation will be eliminated? Like, I certainly can't say. I don't feel like that would be true, but who knows? But Alex, producer, sound engineer, photographer, documentarian, is on the call, and I'm curious, as someone who, independent of whether you consider yourself a capital A artist or not, I think of you in that way. I'm curious, like, how you feel about that as someone who produces art.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting topic. It's very touchy. I think it touches me personally as well. I would say I want to make a distinction first between like artistry and craftsmanship. I feel like AI can help the craftsman to create something,
right,
to a higher degree of maybe perfection, but I think the art and the artistry come from a different place. So I think the artist will be the one who envisions, I don't know, in the case that we're talking about, maybe like new worlds or new imagery, and the AI may be the one who makes it possible for the artist to make that piece more easily, making it more accessible. So I think what this actually threatens is two things. One, copyright, because obviously, now they have been feeding the machinery with all these examples, and now all that they're doing is basically emulating other artists' examples that they've been fed in the past. And then craftsmen, people who just like their profession is just creating these very intricate illustrations, but that they don't really sell themselves as a creative mind, but kind of like a hand that executes the idea. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yep.
A little threatening, I have to say.
Yeah, that the distinction, right? Like, I mean, even as you were talking, like, there is the potential from this to see a proliferation of art in society, at least theoretically, right? Like, minimum, there is a chance that the internet just becomes a more like aesthetically beautiful place because AI is able to, in its sort of current incarnation, be able to generate more aesthetically beautiful imagery in a digital format, which seems good. The internet has progressively got more aesthetically appealing over time from its like early HTML like clip art days. So like that seems good, right? Just if that digital art begins to come out of the internet into our real world or inspire an increase in aesthetic orientation, that could be a good thing because, I am probably the least visual, or I'm definitely the least visual art gifted person on this call. Jess and Alex are both like very capable visual artists or craftspeople or however you would put that, but I don't have those skills, and as we've spoken about in the past, I still appreciate beautiful things, but like I can't hold visual images in my mind particularly well, so I can't create them. So like the idea that I could make something is exciting to me, independent of whether I actually ever do it. So like a proliferation of art or just visually beautiful things, maybe not even, for the sake of the discussion, pulling it out of capital A art and just saying like more beautiful things in the world sounds kind of nice, right?
That sounds great. Yeah. You're such a positive person. I love it.
I'm like, like, could my apartment be like more beautiful, or our office, or like, could we see like AI generated street art that is like more appealing than, or, you know, restaurants or businesses using these methods to like make more beautiful store locations, or schools being able to use these tools to help kids create like prettier things at schools?
On the other side of the coin, and as someone who is slightly always leading towards negativity, I would be scared of something that becomes like too homogeneous, you know, like all these creations. And we also see that in websites, as you were mentioning before. There's all this design that is very bland and very similar to each other, that there's not that much creativity. Design becomes kind of like the blanket thing to be used, and people overdo it. I would be scared of, you know, AI creating art very similar to each other and then just feeding itself with the same art and creating something too homogeneous and repetitive.
Yeah, I hear you. At the same time, at least for now, it's more of a tool than it is deciding such things. And like those, you know, the waves of what is stylish and the trends of design decisions that shift over time. There are always those movements of like what that baseline and like what is in and like everyone copying each other at any given time might look like. And still, like, at least from what I understand, the AI art generators are so much more open-ended than that. Like if you wanted to honestly, like more scary to me are the things like Squarespace has made it so easy to just like have a nice looking website baseline that is like relatively easy to use, and sort of you eliminate you like
millennial pink of websites.
You just raise the bar of what like anybody should be doing when it comes to like website building as just like one type of medium. I feel like that's more scary to me than a tool that allows you to make more creative decisions, apply, like you said, Alex, artistry, or what I described as like creativity, like input your vision so that it can just come up with something theoretically unique. Like two different people could create very different, in my head anyway, like typing a different sentence could output a totally different piece of art.
Yeah, the strength of AI is its like recombinatorial ability, like, which in some ways it almost can be random. Obviously, you're putting in the prompt to confine the randomness, right? And so the quality of your prompt will like expand or contract the level of randomness that would be generated, but also the speed with which it can generate is like all of it is theoretically disposable. And I think that's some of the fear, because it is produced so quick that then it inherently possesses theoretically less value because it is so easily created. But it, in turn, that sort of like simply by changing a word in the prompt of like in the noir style versus in like the French impressionist style would dramatically change an image. It is like you can test and experiment with so many things so fast to try and land on a thing that perfectly captures what you had in your mind, right?
Yeah.
The one thing I will say to this question of sort of homogeneity or like what is getting created, I sent you this tweet. I think no, I didn't, because it's really creepy. But there is someone was doing experimentation with one of these models, and they started being able to. It was someone who's like interested in, what is the term that they call it? Wait for it. So this person is like interested in like digital cryptids, which is like a whole like world of sort of like horror-y type of imagery. Like there are whole communities, I think, that exist around this world of like sort of just like creepy horror movie, monster, ghost, ghoul type of things. Mm-hmm. But they've found this creature in one of these AI models that they're calling LOAB because of how some of the text has been generated in some of the images where they're like asking for like movie posters or something. But this particular like creature is like constantly reemerging in the generations of like there are sort of patterns that can emerge in these AI generators to this question of homogeneity where like it's funny, these people aren't talking about it necessarily in like mystical ways or anything like that, but it's just like this concept or construct or however the neural network is thinking about these things, this pattern is sort of perpetually reemerging, and it's this really creepy lady that is sort of like a ghost in the AI machine that they're able to like perpetually get to come out, and we can put it in the show notes as well. But
my word, that's
warning,
terrifying.
all of the photos are super creepy and
not
like
prepared.
horror-y and gross.
Want it.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
I'll send it. Should we do like a live reaction of Jess?
Gosh, I'm scared. You know I don't like scary things. I don't handle them well. No! Why would you show us this? I'm not covering the screen with my hand because I can't look at that. I didn't even open the link. I just saw the preview and it's a hard no from me. No, thank you.
This creature LOAB,
why would
LOAB,
oh boy. See, this is
able to like be repeatedly pulled out of the system.
See, that's someone creative can find that too.
Yeah. So this brings us to Jess's digital cryptid corner.
Oh my goodness gracious. I am maybe not surprised that there is some hesitation and fear around the introduction and impressive strength of this new technology that are AI art generators. And Joey has shared a few of really interesting places to look if you haven't seen any of what they are able to produce. But it is so kind of amazingly, empowering that anyone can type in a sentence and spit out a creative manifestation of whatever maybe was stuck in your head, but that still doesn't necessarily make up for all that sits within these two pieces of creativity or artistry, the thing that you need to have conjured in your head in order to even spit out anything or put any text down or give the computer something to work with. And then the craft or the craftsmanship side of things, of the making of it, because as much as a computer can do, there is still, A, it might not get it right, or B, it still might not be able to have the same kind of nuance or something else that a true craftsperson can make. And that is the beauty of art and entertainment and things that are entirely human, is that like perfection goes too far, and the consistency that can be replicated by a machine is something that we don't even necessarily want at the end of the day. I certainly do not want this scary ghost looking at me. I will quickly be deleting that from my computer personally. And I appreciate, Joey, that you brought this to us. It's been a long time coming.
Digital art aficionado. Scary low abs. We will put links to a bunch of these tweets that have like the State Fair winner image and just threads with different imagery. We'll put the Loab one in there too if you want to see creepy things. It's not like vomit creepy. It's just like, ew, scary horror movie posters. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. So I guess we're approaching spooky season. So
yeah,
maybe
almost spooky season.
Spooky season. Okay.
Critical Nonsense is a Sylvain production.
Brought to you by anything your mind can conjure up and put into an art generator.
As always, we'd like to thank our executive producer and digital cryptid, Jess Vander.
Thank you. I would also like to thank sound engineer and artist himself, Alex Cantel.
We'd like to thank our programming coordinator and just like champion dude, Les Jacobs. Get better, Les. Les had an injury and we're sending him good vibes.
Well, get better, Les. We also would like to thank our production crew, Sarah Gilbert and Nora Mestrich, for always making more beautiful things in the world.
And as always, thank you, Sorry, Ellen.
Thanks, Ellen.
Special thanks, Gratitude Corner, vacations. Those are nice.
True. I would like to thank Joey, even though he seems to think that he is the non-artist among us on this call. If you haven't listened to his concoction of a D&D universe as a weaver of stories and a teller of tales and a dreamer of dreams, listen up. This guy has creative juices a-flowing. So, you heard it here
just
first,
not
folks.
Visual. Just not visual.
I've seen your doodles. We've got a doodling crew in this circuit right here. Don't knock a doodle till you've seen a doodle. A cheese doodle. I'd like to thank cheese doodles. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank theoretical physicists for sitting in their caves and thinking about their numbers all the time. You know, like so much props. Like, you know, axions. How do we get there? Time is a field. Oh
boy.
Yeah, spend your whole damn life looking at numbers. But sometimes you get something good.
I would like to thank beauty and all of its beholding eyes. Boulders.
Qualia. And with that, we love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Love you. Bye.
Oh, my phone just fell. I think I could put my phone on my shoulder like a little pet. If I'm really about. It's like a little phone parrot.